Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into two, well, pretty fascinating Tibetan Buddhist practices for achieving enlightenment, Mahamudra and Dzogchen.
Ah,
And we're
yes.
using the essential guide to Dzogchen and Mahamudra as our guide.
Excellent resource.
Yeah, I'm actually already kind of feeling that beginner's mind excitement just flipping through it.
It's exciting stuff. Both traditions offer, really unique perspectives on the nature of mind, the nature of reality,
Yeah.
and they challenge our conventional ways of thinking.
Okay, so let's start with Mahamudra.
Sure.
The book calls it the great symbol.
Right.
What is that symbolizing?
It points to the wisdom of emptiness,
Okay.
which in this context, it doesn't mean nothingness,
Okay.
but rather the true nature of mind in all phenomena.
Hmm.
And what Mahamudra emphasizes is that this wisdom is already present within us.
Oh, interesting.
It's not something that we need to, create or attain somewhere down the line.
That's really interesting because, it seems to go against our typical achievement-oriented mindset.
Definitely.
So if it's about uncovering what's already there,
Right.
does that mean Mahamudra doesn't require any lifestyle changes? Like, could I practice it while living my normal life?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the beautiful aspects of Mahamudra.
Yeah.
It's not about, becoming a monk or renouncing the world.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating, genuineness, relaxation, awareness, and self-acceptance
Great.
within the context of your everyday life.
Okay, now that's a concept I can get behind.
Yeah.
But how do we actually cultivate those qualities?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the book mentions a threefold path in Mahamudra.
Right.
Could you maybe walk us through that a bit?
Yeah. Tell me more.
So the threefold path provides a framework for understanding and practicing Mahamudra.
Okay.
And the first element is the ground, which refers to the fundamental view of reality.
Okay.
So it's about understanding emptiness, not as a void,
Okay.
but as open, transparent, spacious, luminous, and aware. This understanding kind of forms the foundation
Yeah.
for the entire path.
So kind of like the space within a room.
Yes.
It's there even though we can't physically grasp it.
A perfect analogy.
Okay, cool.
The second element then is the path, which encompasses the actual meditation practices.
I see.
These primarily revolve around what's called shamatha, which is resting in the nature of mind,
Okay.
and vipassana, which is clear seeing or insight meditation.
So this is where I always kind of get a bit intimidated.
Sure.
Because I think of meditation and I imagine, trying to force my mind to be silent,
Right.
which honestly just seems impossible.
Yeah.
Is that what Mahamudra meditation is about?
Well, that's a common misconception.
Okay.
It's not about intense concentration or, forcing the mind to be quiet.
Okay.
Instead, it's about learning to rest the mind, gently allowing it to settle into its own kind of natural state, much like a lake becoming still after it's been disturbed.
Okay, that feels much more approachable. But how do you rest the mind?
Right.
It just seems so counterintuitive.
It is a subtle practice.
Yeah.
It involves finding a balance between mindfulness and, this effortless presence.
Okay.
You're not forcing focus, but you're cultivating a gentle awareness of your thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Right.
And the book suggests a simple technique of sitting upright, gazing softly into space,
Okay.
and just observing whatever arises in the mind. Just allowing these thoughts and feelings to kind of melt away like snowflakes falling into a warm hand.
So it's more about observation than control.
Precisely. And that's where this intriguing concept of non-meditation comes in.
Interesting.
Both Mahamudra and Dzogchen emphasize that the key is not to meditate in the conventional sense,
Okay.
but simply to be present.
Wait, so I'm trying to meditate by not meditating.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
Well, it's about shifting our focus from doing to being.
Okay.
We're so used to striving,
Right.
trying to achieve a certain state of mind.
Yeah.
And non-meditation encourages us to let go of that effort and simply rest in the present moment, allowing our experience to unfold naturally.
So instead of constantly trying to become something we're not,
Yes,
we're actually looking for what's already there.
exactly. Mahamudra challenges this assumption that we need to fix ourselves through meditation. It points to the reality that our true nature is already whole and complete.
Okay.
The practice is about uncovering that truth, not creating something new.
It's like I'm starting to see how these teachings turn our usual way of thinking upside down.
Definitely. It's a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if everything is already perfect, as these traditions suggest,
Right.
then why bother with practice at all?
That's a good question.
What's the point if we're already Buddhas?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe we could explore that a little later in our deep dive.
Okay, yeah.
But for now, maybe let's focus on understanding
Yeah.
what these teachings mean by true nature
Right.
and how we begin to uncover it.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So what exactly are we looking for?
Right.
What aspect of our being needs revealing?
So Mahamudra and Dzogchen point to the fact that our innermost being is already aware, clear, and unwavering.
Okay.
And this inherent wakefulness, sometimes called Buddha nature,
Mm.
is often obscured by our thoughts, emotions, and habitual patterns.
So like a diamond buried in the mud?
Yes,
It just needs to be unearthed.
a vivid image.
Okay.
And that's where practice comes in.
Right.
It's not about becoming something we're not, but rather recognizing and experiencing this inherent clarity, spaciousness, and compassion as our true essence.
Okay.
Not in some distant future, but right here, right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But with all the mental chatter and distractions, how do we even begin to recognize this innate awareness?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It seems like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Well, think of it this way. Amidst all the chaos of thoughts and feelings, there's a subtle awareness that observes without judgment.
Okay.
We might call this the quiet watcher.
I see.
And it's always there, even when we're caught up in the drama of our minds.
So that's the diamond we're looking for.
Yes.
How do we cultivate that awareness?
Good question.
Is it about quieting the mind completely?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about befriending the mind,
Mm.
about developing a gentle tolerance for all the chaos and confusion.
Right.
The book talks about the 3 gates of liberation as a guide for practice.
Okay.
Do not fabricate, do not meditate, do not be distracted.
Hmm.
In other words, let go of trying to control or change your experience.
Okay.
And simply observe it with openness and curiosity.
Befriending the chaos. I like that.
It's a good way to put it.
It feels less intimidating than trying to force my mind to be silent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by cultivating this awareness,
Yeah.
we start to see through the illusion of a separate self, realizing that everything is interconnected.
Right. And everything is a manifestation of this pure awareness.
That's the heart of it. And this understanding is shared by both Mahamudra and Dzogchen.
Yeah.
They both emphasize that our true nature is inherently pure and perfect, regardless of our circumstances or our perceived flaws.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
Speaking of Dzogchen,
Yes.
it seems like it has a lot in common with Mahamudra.
Totally.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how they intertwine
Sure.
in their approach to uncovering this, the mind's true nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So both traditions share a similar view of the mind as inherently empty, luminous, and blissful. And they see our delusions and negative emotions as temporary obscurations,
I see.
like clouds passing in front of the sun.
So the sun is always shining.
Yes,
We just got to clear away the clouds to see it.
precisely. And that clearing away is what practice is all about.
Okay.
It's about recognizing our inherent wakefulness, our Buddha nature,
Right.
rather than striving to become something we're not. So it seems like both traditions emphasize that enlightenment or Buddhahood
Yeah.
isn't some distant goal, but rather something we can realize here and now
Right.
by transcending rituals, dropping concepts, and simply living out our true nature.
That's a key point.
Yeah.
Both Mahamudra and Dzogchen emphasize the immediacy of realization.
Right.
It's not about waiting for some future event or achieving some, special state.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing what's already present, right here, right now.
Okay, that's both exciting and challenging.
It is.
But before we dive deeper into Dzogchen,
Sure.
there's one thing I'm still curious about.
Okay.
The book mentions the importance of a teacher
Yes.
in both Mahamudra and Dzogchen.
Yeah.
Why is that so crucial?
Well, it's a great question. Recognizing pure awareness within the complexities of our own minds isn't always easy.
Right.
It's like trying to navigate a dense forest without a map.
Right.
And a skilled teacher acts as that map, guiding us, pointing out the pitfalls, helping us to see the path more clearly.
So they're like a Sherpa, guiding us through the Himalayas of our own minds.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
And, not only do they provide guidance,
Right.
but they also embody the teachings,
Right.
offering us a living example of what's possible.
It makes sense that having a mentor who has walked the path themselves would be invaluable.
Absolutely. And in these traditions, the lineage of teachers is particularly important.
Okay.
It ensures the authenticity of the teachings
Right.
and the transmission of blessings through generations of realized masters.
I see.
It's like
Yep.
tapping into a stream of wisdom that's been flowing for centuries.
Wow, I'm starting to see the depth and richness of these traditions.
They're very profound.
It's more than just meditation techniques.
Really?
It's about lineage, guidance, and this profound shift in perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now that we've laid a good foundation in Mahamudra,
Okay.
let's turn our attention to Dzogchen
Sounds good.
and explore its unique approach to realizing our true nature.
So what's the first thing we should know about Dzogchen and how it approaches this path to awakening?
Well, the Dzogchen, which means great perfection,
Okay.
offers what's called a threefold revelation, much
Right.
like Mahamudra's threefold path.
Right.
And it begins with the ground, the understanding that the great perfection, that pure awareness we've been talking about,
Right.
is our true nature,
Okay.
whether we realize it or not.
So just like in Mahamudra, the potential is already there,
Exactly.
waiting to be unveiled.
Yes. And the path to uncovering that potential unfolds through the second element, the path,
Okay.
which,
I'm eager to learn more about how that path unfolds in
Yeah.
Dzogchen, so let's take a closer look
sounds good.
at those teachings.
Okay, so the path in Dzogchen focuses on recognizing this pure awareness called rigpa
Mm-hmm.
and becoming familiar with it through effortless meditation and what's called natural practice.
Rigpa and natural practice.
Yeah.
These terms are really intriguing.
They are.
Can you maybe unpack those for us a bit?
Sure.
What makes them distinct to Dzogchen?
So rigpa is often translated as, pure awareness
Okay.
or primordial awareness.
Okay.
And it points to the very essence of our being, which is naturally awake and luminous. It's not something we create through effort, but rather something that we recognize and rest in.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the focus here is on recognition rather than transformation.
That's a good way to put it.
It's like tuning into a frequency that's already present,
Yes.
like finding a radio station that's always been broadcasting.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And natural practice in Dzogchen takes this a step further.
Okay.
It emphasizes integrating this awareness into every aspect of life, not just formal meditation. So it's about bringing that quality of rigpa into our daily activities, our interactions with others,
Right.
our experience of the world around us.
That sounds like a pretty tall order.
It can be, but it starts with recognizing the simplicity of it all.
Okay.
The Dzogchen, like Mahamudra, emphasizes the natural perfection of our true nature. It's not about adding anything or becoming someone else.
Okay.
It's about letting go of that striving
Right.
and simply resting in the present moment.
So that brings us back to this paradox we
Yeah.
touched on earlier.
Yeah.
If everything is already perfect,
Right.
what's the motivation to practice?
Yeah, that's a question that has puzzled practitioners for centuries.
Right.
The teachings address this by pointing out that even though our true nature is inherently perfect, it's often veiled by layers of conditioning,
Right.
habitual patterns, and limiting beliefs.
So it's not that we need to become Buddhas,
Right.
but rather remember that we are Buddhas,
Exactly.
that our true nature is already awakened.
Precisely.
And practice becomes the process of gently removing those obscurations.
Yes.
Seeing through that illusion of separation.
Yes.
And recognizing our fundamental interconnectedness.
Exactly.
Everything. Yeah.
It's about unveiling the truth
Yeah.
rather than creating something new.
That's right.
Okay. And if Dzogchen emphasizes this natural awareness, this rigpa,
Yes.
what makes it distinct from Mahamudra?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
While they share many similarities,
Right.
Dzogchen places a particular emphasis on the immediacy of recognizing this pure awareness.
Okay.
There's a sense of agency in Dzogchen, a call to awaken now without delay.
I see.
It's about cutting through the conceptual mind
Okay.
and directly experiencing the naked reality
Right.
of what is.
So it sounds like Dzogchen encourages a more direct approach,
You could say that.
bypassing the conceptual mind altogether.
Yeah, Dzogchen master Namkhai Norbu once said, there is no path to tread, no goal to attain. It's about recognizing that we're already at the destination, already home.
Okay, so that's a pretty radical perspective.
It is.
But how does that play out in practice?
How do we actually cultivate this direct recognition of rigpa?
Well, Dzogchen offers a variety of skillful means,
Okay.
including pointing out instructions from a teacher, visualizations,
Right.
and specific meditation techniques.
Okay.
But the essence of the practice is simply to rest in the natural state of awareness,
Okay.
allowing thoughts and emotions to arise and dissolve without interference.
So similar to Mahamudra,
Yes.
it's about cultivating that quiet watcher we talked about.
Exactly.
That aspect of awareness that observes without getting caught up in the drama.
Precisely.
And as we familiarize ourselves with this state of non-dual awareness,
Right.
we begin to see through the illusion of a separate self,
Yes.
recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
That's right.
Okay, so that brings us to the third element
Yes.
of the threefold revelation, fruition.
Tuition.
So I'm curious to hear more about how that unfolds in Dzogchen.
Okay.
What does fruition look like in this context?
Well, fruition in Dzogchen is about fully manifesting the enlightened qualities that were always present within us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about integrating this realization into every aspect of our lives,
Okay.
expressing it through our actions, our speech, and our very being.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment, but
Mhm.
also about radiating that awakened energy out into the world?
Precisely. Dzogchen Master Patrol Rinpoche
Okay.
beautifully described it as
Okay.
living your life like a rainbow,
Hmm.
effortlessly beautifying whatever space you grace.
What a powerful image.
It is.
It seems like Dzogchen offers a path to not only realizing our true nature,
Right.
but also embodying it fully, allowing it to shine through in
Yeah.
everything we do.
That's right.
Okay, but before we delve further into those enlightened qualities,
Sure.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about the meditation techniques
Okay.
that Dzogchen uses to cultivate this awareness.
Sure.
What makes them unique
Yeah.
compared to other Buddhist traditions?
Well, Dzogchen meditation techniques often emphasize a sense of effortlessness and naturalness.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on, concentration or visualization.
Right.
Many practices involve simply resting in the natural flow of awareness,
Okay.
allowing thoughts and emotions to arise and pass away like clouds in the sky.
So it's less about controlling the mind
Yes.
and more about observing it with
Yeah.
a sense of open curiosity.
Exactly. One common practice involves, simply sitting in an upright posture,
Okay.
relaxing the body and mind,
Mm,
and resting your attention in the spacious awareness that's always present.
right.
It's like gazing into a vast open sky,
Yeah.
allowing whatever arises to just pass through without resistance.
Okay, that sounds incredibly peaceful.
It can be.
Are there any specific challenges or
Yeah.
pitfalls that people might encounter
Sure.
when practicing this type of meditation?
So one common challenge is the tendency to fall into dullness
Okay.
or spacing out. The mind might become so relaxed
Yes.
that it loses its clarity and sharpness.
So it's about finding that delicate balance
Yes,
between relaxation and alertness.
precisely. It's like a tightrope walk.
Okay.
Too much effort and the mind becomes tense and agitated.
Right.
Too little effort
Yeah.
and it drifts into a fog of dullness.
Hmm.
The key is to find that sweet spot, that effortless awareness
Right.
that's both relaxed and vibrant.
It makes sense. It seems like Dzogchen requires a certain level of subtlety and finesse.
It does.
And that's why, having a skilled teacher is so crucial.
Absolutely.
They can guide us,
Right.
point out those pitfalls,
Yes.
and help us navigate the nuances
That's right.
of the practice.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned that Dzogchen breaks down the qualities of true nature into 3 aspects.
Yes.
I'm curious to learn more about those.
Okay.
Could you elaborate on each of them?
Certainly. These 3 qualities, often called the 3 qualities of true nature, are empty essence, luminous nature, and all-pervasive compassion.
Those are some pretty profound concepts.
They are.
Let's start with empty essence.
Okay.
What does that mean in the context of Dzogchen?
So empty essence points to the fundamental ground of being, which is free from any, inherent fixed identity
Okay.
or characteristics.
Right,
It's not nothingness,
right.
but rather a state of open potentiality,
Mm,
a boundless capacity for experience.
okay,
Think of it as like the clear, open sky,
okay.
unobstructed by clouds.
So it's the realization that we are more than our thoughts, emotions, and experiences.
Yes.
Our true nature is beyond all these limitations.
Exactly. And because this essence is empty,
Mm,
it's also free from suffering.
right.
Dzogchen teaches that suffering arises from clinging to a false sense of self,
Okay.
from identifying with our thoughts and emotions as who we truly are.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When we let go of that clinging.
Yep.
We open up to a more spacious and liberating way of being.
Precisely. Now, the second quality, luminous nature,
Yes.
highlights the inherent awareness that pervades our experience.
I'm intrigued by this concept of luminous nature.
Yes.
Can you maybe tell me a little bit more about what that means?
Sure.
How it relates to our everyday experience?
Okay, so imagine the sun shining brightly in the sky.
Okay.
Its light illuminates everything,
Right.
regardless of whether we're aware of it or not.
Okay.
Similarly,
Yeah.
our true nature
Mm-hmm.
is inherently luminous. It's a knowing presence
Okay.
that's always there, shining brightly.
So it's like a constant hum beneath the surface
Yeah.
of our awareness.
A great way to put it, even when we're lost in thought, caught up in the drama of our lives,
Right.
this luminous awareness is always present.
Right.
It's the knowing that knows, the awareness that's aware.
Okay, that's powerful.
It is.
And it seems like cultivating this awareness is at the heart of Dzogchen practice.
Absolutely. And finally, the third quality, all-pervasive compassion,
Okay.
emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things.
Right.
It arises naturally from the realization of our true nature
Okay.
as empty and luminous.
Right.
When we see through the illusion of separation, we recognize our inherent unity with all beings,
Okay.
and compassion flows effortlessly from that understanding.
So realizing our true nature isn't just about personal enlightenment,
Right.
but also about cultivating compassion
Yes.
and connection with all beings.
That's a key insight. You know, Dzogchen, like Mahamudra, emphasizes that genuine awakening
Right.
is not a solitary pursuit.
Mm,
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness
right.
and extending that awareness and compassion to all beings.
It sounds like a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is.
From a self-centered view
Yeah.
to a more expansive
That's right.
and interconnected way of being.
It is.
But how does this actually play out in our daily lives?
Well-
You know, it's easy to get lost in these abstract concepts.
It is. So let's bring it down to earth.
Okay.
With an example.
Okay.
Imagine you're feeling angry.
Okay.
Instead of getting caught up in the story
Right.
of why you're angry,
Yeah.
Dzogchen and Mahamudra invite you to simply observe the anger.
Okay.
Feel the sensations in your body without judgment.
So instead of like fueling the fire,
Yes.
I'm watching the flames dance.
Another great analogy.
Okay.
And through this observation, through this non-judgmental awareness,
Right.
the anger naturally begins to dissipate.
Because I'm not giving it the energy
That's right.
to grow and take over.
Exactly. And this applies to all our experiences.
Right.
Not just anger,
Right.
whether it's joy, sadness, fear, or confusion.
Right.
These teachings invite us to meet our experience with open awareness,
Okay.
allowing it to arise and pass without getting caught up in the drama.
It sounds like a recipe for inner peace and equanimity.
It can be. But it's important to remember that this doesn't mean suppressing or denying our emotions.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging them,
Yeah.
feeling them fully, but without letting them define us.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between detachment and engagement,
Yes.
allowing ourselves to experience the fullness of life without getting swept away by it.
You've got it.
Okay.
And as we cultivate this awareness, we start to see through the illusion of a separate self,
Right.
realizing that everything is interconnected.
Right.
Everything is a manifestation of pure awareness.
That's a pretty profound shift
It is.
in perspective.
Yeah, and it's not something that happens overnight.
Right.
Both Dzogchen and Mahamudra emphasize the importance of consistent practice, gradually familiarizing ourselves with this way of seeing reality.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Precisely.
A process of unfolding rather than a sudden awakening.
Exactly. And it's a journey that can be incredibly rewarding,
Okay.
leading to greater peace, compassion, and wisdom. But before we wrap up our exploration of Dzogchen,
Okay.
I'd like to address a common misconception
What's that?
about these practices.
Okay.
There's a tendency to think that Dzogchen and Mahamudra are about, doing nothing,
Okay.
about being passive.
Right.
Talk about the importance of effortlessness and non-meditation.
Exactly.
And while those are important aspects,
Right.
it's crucial to understand that this doesn't mean sitting around and being inactive.
Okay.
It's a very active form of non-doing.
Active non-doing.
Yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate on
do that.
what that means?
It's about being fully present in each moment, engaging with life wholeheartedly,
Right.
but without the usual grasping, striving, and self-judgment
Right.
that often accompany our actions.
So it's not about withdrawing from the world,
Yeah.
but rather engaging with it
Yes.
in a more conscious and compassionate way.
Precisely. It's about acting from a place of clarity and presence, responding to each moment with wisdom and skillful means.
It sounds like a delicate balance.
It is. And it's a balance that can be cultivated through consistent practice, with the guidance of a skilled teacher.
Speaking of practice,
Yes.
for someone who's intrigued by Dzogchen
Okay.
and wants to explore it further,
Yeah.
what's the best way to get started?
Well, finding a qualified teacher is essential.
Okay.
Both Dzogchen and Mahamudra are best learned through direct transmission from someone who has embodied these teachings
Right.
and can offer personalized guidance.
So it's not something you can just pick up from a book
Right.
or a weekend workshop.
While books and workshops can be helpful introductions,
Mhm.
the true essence of these practices is transmitted through the living lineage of realized masters. It's about connecting with a teacher who can guide you, answer your questions, and support you on the path.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So find a teacher, practice diligently,
Right.
and be patient.
Yes. And don't forget to enjoy the journey.
That's great advice. It seems like the journey itself is where the real treasures are found.
Absolutely.
So we're back.
Back again.
Wrapping up our exploration of Mahamudra and Dzogchen.
Two paths leading to the same peak.
Yeah.
That inherent wakefulness that we all possess.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating,
Yes.
kind of unpacking these profound teachings.
Yeah.
Peeling back the layers to reveal that radiant awareness
Absolutely.
at the core of our being.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And it strikes me that while these traditions originated centuries ago in the Himalayas,
Right.
their relevance to our modern lives is undeniable.
Absolutely. In a world of, constant distraction and information overload,
Right.
or stress and anxiety are rampant,
Yeah.
Dzogchen and Mahamudra offer a much-needed antidote.
I think so too. They provide us with a toolkit
Yeah,
for navigating the complexities of modern life with
Yeah.
greater awareness,
for sure.
compassion, and wisdom. They remind us to slow down, breathe, and connect with the present moment.
Absolutely. And I think perhaps most importantly,
Yeah.
they challenge us to question our assumptions
Right.
about who we are and what reality is,
Mm.
encouraging a more expansive and interconnected way of being.
It's not just about, personal enlightenment,
Right.
but about cultivating a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of ourselves and our place in the world.
Absolutely.
Recognizing the intricate web of relationships that connect us all.
That's the beauty of these teachings. They
Yeah.
offer a path to not only individual liberation,
Right.
but also to a more awakened and compassionate world.
And, as we've explored,
Yes.
both Mahamudra and Dzogchen emphasize the importance of a qualified teacher
Absolutely.
on this journey.
Yeah.
Why is that guidance so crucial?
Right.
Especially in a world where information about these practices is so readily available online.
Well, while books and online resources can be helpful, they can't replace the direct transmission that comes from a lineage holder,
Right.
someone who has embodied these teachings
Right.
and can offer personalized guidance based on their own experience.
So it's not just about intellectual understanding,
Right.
but about experiential knowing,
Yes.
about having a mentor who can point you in the right direction
That's right.
and help you navigate the inevitable challenges that arise on the path.
Exactly. It's like having a seasoned mountain guide
Okay.
who's familiar with the terrain,
Right.
who can anticipate potential pitfalls,
Yeah.
and who can offer encouragement and support when the going gets tough.
And that lineage aspect is particularly interesting.
Yes.
It speaks to the importance of connecting with an unbroken chain
Yeah,
of wisdom that's been passed down through generations.
absolutely. It's like tapping into a powerful stream
Right.
of energy and blessings that has been flowing for centuries,
Wow.
connecting us to the very source
Yeah.
of these teachings.
I'm starting to see the depth and richness of these traditions.
They're very profound.
It's more than just meditation techniques.
Yeah.
It's about lineage, guidance,
Right.
and a profound shift in perspective that permeates all aspects of life.
And that shift in perspective is key.
Yeah.
It's about moving beyond the limitations of our ego-centered view
Right.
and embracing a more expansive
Yeah.
and interconnected way of being.
As we wrap up our deep dive,
Okay.
what are some common misconceptions about Dzogchen and Mahamudra
Right.
that you've encountered?
Well, one common misconception is that these practices are about withdrawing from the world,
Okay.
becoming passive observers of life.
Right. We've touched on the ideas of effortlessness
Yes.
and non-meditation,
Right.
which can sometimes be misinterpreted.
Absolutely.
But as we've discussed, these teachings emphasize engaging with life fully,
That's right.
albeit from a place of greater awareness and presence.
Exactly.
It's about bringing that quality of mindfulness, that radiant awareness into every aspect of our experience.
That's right.
Whether we're, meditating on a cushion,
Yeah.
having a conversation,
Yeah.
or simply walking down the street.
It's about recognizing the sacredness of each moment,
Yeah.
meeting every experience with an open heart and a clear mind.
And that, I think, is the ultimate invitation
It is.
of Dzogchen and Mahamudra
Yeah.
to awaken to the fullness of our being.
Right.
Right here, right now.
To recognize that the treasure we seek
Yeah.
is not out there somewhere in the future,
Right.
but within us,
Hmm.
always present,
Yeah.
waiting to be discovered.
This has been an incredible journey,
It really has.
and I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights.
It's been my pleasure.
I have a feeling our listeners are leaving with a lot to ponder.
I hope so.
So if our listeners are interested in learning more,
Yeah.
where would you recommend they start?
Well, finding a qualified teacher is essential,
Okay.
as we've discussed.
Right.
There are also many wonderful books
Right.
and online resources available.
Okay.
But it's important to approach those with discernment
Right.
and to seek out authentic teachings
Okay.
from reputable sources.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
As we conclude,
Sure.
is there any parting wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, remember, the path to awakening is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, cultivate a sense of humor,
Right.
and enjoy the process
Yeah.
of uncovering your own inherent brilliance.
Beautiful words to end on.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us on this deep dive
It's been a pleasure.
into Mahamudra and Dzogchen.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep, and may your journey be filled with joy, insight, and boundless awakening.